can discuss it. Honorable Speaker, social worker, they really help people to overcome many challenges. And given the kind of situation in the world right now, there are so many challenges. There are challenges that are brought up by a different situation, different occurrence here and there. Be it climate change, be it economy, and also diseases, illnesses. And therefore, these social workers are very important. And whenever they come through, they come, they protect, and they advise, and they advocate for change, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I think it is high time that they are recognized and they are supported in what they are doing so that they can even better the services, because their services are really needed. So I want to support Honorable Kimilu for this bill, and it is a good one indeed. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Member for Kitutu Masaba, Honorable Clive Gizairo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first of all, let me take this opportunity to congratulate Honorable Joshua Kimilu for this timely bill. Honorable Speaker, by professionalizing the institution of social workers, we are going to kill so many problems at once. Honorable Speaker, when I became a member of parliament, I didn't know that almost all Kenyans are vulnerable. Everyone is vulnerable when it comes to government services. Honorable Speaker, the challenges we had with the new university funding model is because all applicants were vulnerable. Honorable Speaker, the new medical, the SHA, is having challenges because everybody is vulnerable. Once we professionalize this body, Honorable Speaker, and give it the teeth that it deserves, take it to the grassroots, where everyone knows that this is a professional body, and those serving as social workers appreciate that they are appreciated, we will even be able to have a database of all vulnerable cases from the localities. And this will make every work that's run by government simple and accessible. Honorable Speaker, even when issuing bursaries, these members of parliament can attest. You will never find a case that does not say extremely needy. But if we have a database, we are able to categorize. And this will be protected because this bill also proposes penalties for misconduct. Misconduct by any social worker who does things that are, may be deemed unethical, or by categorizing members to be in a group that they are not. Honorable Speaker, suicide cases are on the increase, mostly by our young generation, the young people. The cases of femicide, they are not identified at the right time because social work has been seen as a useless profession, and therefore nobody takes it serious. But while professionalizing this, you will end up empowering these people. They are able to identify these cases, brought to the fore, and solved in time to mitigate some of these cases like suicides, murders, and other social ills. So, Madam Speaker, this is a bill that we all ought to support. And once it goes through and is entered into law, come up with structures on how it is to be established up to the smallest administrative unit. May it be the ward, Let's have an office there, and let's have a database formulated where any person who wants to help the vulnerables can easily access, be it on medical, be it on education, security. You can go there and access the data and be able to make informed decision to this community. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank Honorable Joshua, and we support this bill. Let us all rally behind it and ensure that it's effected. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Gishugu. Honorable Gishimo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to support this bill, sponsored by Honorable Joshua Kimilu, member for Kaiti. And Honorable Speaker, I want to associate myself with the sentiments of the members who have contributed before, that this is a very, very important bill because it will professionalize the social workers' space in this country, which has been left hanging and a bit disorganized for quite a while. And Honorable Speaker, it's an opportunity through this bill to weed out quacks in the profession of social workers. And these are people who are trained, who have, some have diplomas, some have even degrees, some even have masters and even doctorate in this sector. So it needs to be sanitized and professionalized. Honorable Speaker, just like other professions, this is a profession that will not be relying on the exchequer for purposes of funding. It will be self-regulating. The profession will be through regulations which have already been provided. There's an avenue for provisions, for regulations. I believe regulations will be made on how this will be achieved so that the sector and the profession can be able to be self-regulating. And on that aspect of the regulation, I believe we need to, I'll be proposing an amendment in consultation with the sponsor so that we can leave the issue of the regulations to be made by the CS in consultation with the council, so that the CS who has already been defined in the Act can also have some say, but in consultation with the council, which is the main body to regulate this profession. I will also be seeking, and in consultation with the sponsor, because we are talking about social workers, we also need to define a social worker. What has been defined is only social work, but the social worker has not been defined. It will be very critical that we also define. Also, Honorable Speaker, under clause 5, I will also be seeking to amend in consultation with the sponsor that we delete M, whereby we are leaving room for the institute to do anything else which has not been provided, because this is the law that we are creating. We need to do or to make law with finality, so that if there is anything that is required to be made under this bill, under the law, the Act, after it transits from the bill to the law, then that can only be achieved through a regulation. But the Act itself cannot provide a provision, cannot give a provision for leaving room for someone to do whatever, or the institute to do whatever they want to do, which has not been provided. Finally, Honorable Speaker, under clause 27, as it has been the norm in many professions where a certificate has been cancelled or suspended, I think it will not be required. It is not necessary for someone to submit that report to the regulating body, to the council. Why don't we just maintain a database which gives the status of every other member of that institute, so that by a click of a button, by any citizen, one can know whether someone is qualified, whether someone has a valid certificate or a suspended certificate or a cancelled certificate, to avoid a situation whereby you are penalizing someone 500,000 for not just submitting a cancelled or a suspended certificate to the council. Like in the profession that I belong, you just need to check the website of the Law Society of Kenya and find whether that person is qualified to practice law. And that way, it will be very easy and you will not subject people to unnecessary penalties. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I support this bill. Of course, I will be proposing some amendments at the Committee of the Whole. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chanda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, other than the issue of certification, properly categorizing this profession, and making sure that they self-regulate, there are many other things that I think the bill ought to have recognized. And even if the bill didn't, it's important that the nation recognizes them. A more critical role that social workers do, a lot more things that happen, whether they are different professions, the technical bit of things, the hard stuff that happens, whether they are roads, whether they are water, whether they are dams, whatever they are, many of these things can only work when social workers are in place. All the technical projects that we do interface with human beings. And for them to properly succeed, that interface must be properly understood, must be recognized, and must be constantly checked, if at all things are to work. We've had very many projects that have been done, whether by the government, but they're done with very little background in terms of the community needs. They are done without the issues of the social aspects of these projects. They are done when communities don't understand them very well. And the best way that some of these things can be done is through social workers. There are authorities, for example, the National Irrigation Authority, that has a complete office. And I think they've been doing very well in terms of checking out before they implement a project that involves the communities. Rather than what we popularly nowadays call public participation, the best way that we can sustain the public participation is through social workers. These are the officers, these are the persons that can give a constant touch. They have a constant touch with the public and with the communities. And when we don't recognize them, when many technical departments don't have them in place, that's exactly where we go wrong. Whether they are roads, like I've mentioned, that's where we go wrong. Whether they are bridges, that's where we go wrong. Because we do certain things, sometimes in the name of public participation. And I want to say that the kind of public participation, given that we have also not come up with a proper legislation in terms of how public participation is supposed to be done. Public participations are done in an instantaneous way such that people just discuss, they are called in, it is a specific day, and that's the end of it. Nobody takes them through the intricacies of what the projects have. And this is exactly where social workers become important and very critical. They can be the constant face of technical work across communities by constantly checking in terms of the feelings of the communities, because this technical, many of these things that we are dealing with are basically interfacing with human beings. A good example of why social work is critical, an example is where there's a Kenyan who one time had a small baby and went to Germany. A lady went to Germany, and when she went there, she was details, data, and all that were taken. Little did she know that there is a system in place in this country. So when the baby got to 6 years, she was surprised, was really shocked that a social worker came to her house, came to where she was staying, and knocked, and the first question was where was the child? Is the child in school or not? And I think these are some of the areas which can help us in a much more better way than how we casually look at things. The issue of data. You see, the social workers, if we properly place them with now like the social health workers, this could be a good amount of data that is supposed to help governments, whether they are local, in the name of counties, or national, for purposes of identifying properly the needs of the people and how these needs are supposed to be addressed. So the whole idea of social workers having their place is very critical, is very, very, very necessary. And I want to really, at this time, really call on many of those departments, many of those agencies that are appearing to be technical. They are dealing with communities, they are dealing with people. And the best interface that they can ever have is to have the social workers in place in their departments all over so that there is a connection between what they do and what communities need. That's what I want to, and that's exactly why I want to support the bill, and I want to believe that there are aspects of it that needs to be improved, particularly that element of interfacing the technical areas that we do in the country with the communities and with the people. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, as had been guided earlier, for those coming in, if you intend to speak on this, you'll put the intervention and not the regular button. Honorable member for Makueni, you've had a problem with your card.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this very important bill. And I start by congratulating the Honorable Joshua Kimilu for bringing on board this very important bill, because social worker is one of the oldest professions, and it's unfortunate that they have taken so long to have the profession having a legal framework. Honorable Speaker, we realize that personally I'm a social worker. So when I talk about social worker, I talk about it with a lot of affection and commitment. And I personally wish to thank Honorable Kimilu for ensuring that this profession is regulated, recognized, and protected. And I wish to say that personally I've been a social safeguard specialist for over 23 years. And we have been working within a framework where this protection was lacking. And it's important to realize that, as many of us have actually said, social work is the glue that touches other professions. And when we have other professions that actually ignore the issue of social work, you realize the results and the outcome sometimes are very limiting. So I think I have operated in scenarios because of our emphasis on technical, where the engineers, the doctors have actually been seen as very important people. While I acknowledge they are very important, I think this does not negate the role of a social worker, and that's why I'm congratulating the Honorable Kimilu for doing this, because in most scenarios with this emphasis of technical work, technical profession, people have taken work very mechanical, and they think we can change this world by just doing things. Nevertheless, as one of the colleagues have actually said, to bring about transformational development, you cannot do it unless you actually work with a social worker. Because even the public participation we do, even here in Parliament, personally, I've observed several of them, but you realize the quality of participation is very low. It becomes mechanical because people go with their technical skills and they just approach it in a formal profession where there is no analysis and change. So I believe if this profession is actually recognized and standardized, it will enable each and every sector learn a lot from this particular profession. This is also because if you are a doctor and you don't have social skills, and you don't even hire the skills of the other people, you can actually be treating people diseases that they do not have. Because sometimes what people say is not actually what they suffer from. You need a social expert to analyze some of these issues so that you get to the root cause of the problem. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The issue of also inclusion. We are now living in a society that has a lot of cadres and has a lot of division. We have division between men and women. We have division between old and the young. We have division between the elderly, the sick, and the healthy. It is the role of the social worker to bring about, to narrow this division so that communities can move and actually achieve their objectives. So, Honorable Speaker, I think this is a very valuable bill. And I'm happy it has seen the floor of the House through Honorable Kimilu, and I am sure it will actually change a lot of things. Personally, as I operated as a social safeguard specialist, one of the challenges we faced was the issue of inclusion, especially issues of disability, gender and the elderly people. And you realize in most projects that are actually done, even for this country, they can only benefit sometimes a very few segment, and you realize majority of the people are excluded and do not benefit. But if we recognize this profession, we'll actually ensure that this profession is integrated in the other profession so that we have transformational development as we facilitate change. Honorable Speaker, the other very important point is the issue of remuneration. Because of this profession being taken casually, it has resorted to some employers giving professional sociologists tokenism kind of payment as opposed to professional payment. So I think if we pass this particular bill, we have a situation whereby those who are professional sociologists, they can actually be recognized like other professionals, and this would actually add a lot of value in our communities. So I think with those few and many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, CNN.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to add my voice on this bill. And from onset, I would like to congratulate my brother, Mheshimiwa Kimilu, for coming up with such an important bill. It may seem simple, but it is very important for our country. Mr. Speaker, we need to note that in developing world and even developed world, we live in a world full of discrimination, full of conflicts, full of disasters, full of inequality. Hence, a need for social work to provide technical, financial, and moral support, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, social workers plays a very key role in terms of providing services that governments actually cannot meet because of financial obligation, and needs for them to get recognized. By coming up with this professional body, actually it's going to provide what we call financial, moral, and technical support to workers, Madam Speaker. This body is also going to stop the issues of exploitation of social workers, because that body will now be given a voice to protect the basic needs and also the basic rights of the social workers, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I feel it is very important as we do this, we make sure this bill, we don't only present it in the floor of the House, but we implement it practically to come up with this professional body, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this thing, we have to note that for you to be a social worker, you have to possess a certain traits. And some of these traits, you don't go to school, you don't go to anywhere to inculcate them into your brains, but you need counselors, and you need professionals to assist you in attaining these traits needed to adult some of these people who are vulnerable, Madam Speaker. So in so doing so, we are going to come up with a proper data of all the people who need social support. And this body will play a key role in implementing those few things, Madam Speaker. For us to help the people who have been discriminated, who are facing conflicts in this world, who are facing poverty and even inequality in terms of gender, Madam Speaker, we need social workers. And with those few remarks, I fully support this. Thank you.
Member for Kericho, Honorable Kemei.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very, very important bill. And I want to thank the Honorable Joshua for bringing it forth. Honorable Speaker, I come from Kericho County, where we have so many of these tea estates, and the workers in the tea estates need protection. And this protection has not been so much available, but now with this profession registration, as when this bill goes through, Honorable Speaker, these workers will be registered so that they benefit as a group. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate the fact that their rights will not be violated anymore. And knowing that discipline is very important. And for this case, Honorable Speaker, when we talk of discipline, disciplining of the members, looking at this, Honorable Speaker, I want to specifically appreciate where, and it is noted in this bill that those who engage in negative practices such as nepotism, tribalism, racism, and other acts of discrimination in the discharge of professional functions, Honorable Speaker, will face disciplinary action. And this one is so much important, knowing that in the places like the tier states, Honorable Speaker, there is so much discrimination, and especially nepotism here also comes forth, and not to forget, Honorable Speaker, where we talk of, and maybe the leaders here use their position to obtain favors of sexual kind. Honorable Speaker, I remember I came here with a statement seeking, and from the Committee of Labor, why we have so many of those cases in the tier states of sexual discrimination and the sexual issues. Here, Honorable Speaker, with this professional body, I am sure this issue will be sorted. So I would really want to support this bill, Honorable Speaker. I only have an issue of maybe the definition of who is a social worker. Here, we only have the definition of social work, but who is this social worker, Honorable Speaker? And I also want to add my voice saying that it will also stop cases of exploitation. That is so much rampant, knowing that, Honorable Speaker, in this country, we have so many of these workers, but their welfare is not attended to. So, Honorable Speaker, I do support, not forgetting also the health sector, where we have so many of these social workers, but even their environment is not looked into. Whatever they do is not even appreciated. So with this bill, Honorable Speaker, when they come together under this professional body, I am sure they will work hard, their spirits will be lifted, and even whatever issues they have will be sorted. Honorable Speaker, I do support the bill. Thank you.
Very well. Member for Kitui West, Honorable Nyenze.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also hear my feelings on this bill. On the onset, let me say that I congratulate Mheshimiwa Joshua Kemilu for coming up with this bill, the Institute of Social Work Professionals Bill number 17 of 2023. Madam Speaker, I note that social workers, especially in Kenya, work in a variety of roles. Some of the roles including raising awareness in different areas, assessing needs of especially the lowly, and providing support to such. So this is a very important bill which will ensure that the social workers' profession is regulated, is supervised, and that there are controls and balances concerning this profession. I also note that the social worker handles and our destitute children and gives hope to our youth. They also do a lot in navigating the challenges of the society and empowers the very needy, also women in our society. So they deal especially with the needy people. And it's very good, it's very important to regulate their work and also have refresher courses, which are also regulated by the Institute. And this will ensure that no one is exploited, because these are lowly people and they are actually exposed to exploitation. Because other people can also get into the profession and also pretend that they are also qualified, and in the process, they can mistreat the people they are supposed to actually assist. So this bill would ensure that there are regulations, would ensure that there are follow-ups, would ensure there is proper training for whoever claims to be a social worker, so that our people are taken care of. And this regulating would also ensure that their remunerations for the social workers, and that when they go to interact with the people, then they have enough pay. They will not be tempted to also require to be paid by the same people they are assisting. Actually, Madam Speaker, especially in the healthy sector, social workers in developed countries are highly paid and they are highly recognized. And this profession is recognized as a very crucial profession, and therefore they are well remunerated, they are well regulated, and if we end such in our country, this act would actually help us to also improve, especially on the lowly, so that we can reduce the number of people who have issues. The social workers also deal with such issues like disability. They deal with issues like encouraging the sick, especially those ones who have HIV. I've talked about the health sector, to also take their ARVs, because there are some who would not even see the need of doing so. And if they continue without the ARVs, then their lives are shortened. So these social workers, their profession should be recognized and also encouraged by a body which will have checks and balances, which will supervise whatever they do, and which will regulate and ensure that this is a proper institute. So with that, Madam Speaker, I congratulate Joshua Kimilu and say that this one came at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, allow me to recognize in our public gallery students from a very interesting name here, Kamuongo Secondary School in Mwingi North from Kitui County. And I will indulge Honorable Makali Mulu to say something to the students.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is Kamuongo. That's the way we pronounce it down there. And on behalf of my colleague, Honorable Nzengo, because they come from Honorable Nzengo's constituency, I want to take this opportunity to welcome the teachers and the students to the National Assembly. It's good that they have come to see what we do in this assembly. My prayer that in future, one of them will be seated where we are seated, serving the nation. So best wishes, Kamuongo Secondary School, and most welcome. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, and on behalf of the Speaker and the whole House, we welcome you to observe the proceedings of the House. The last one that seemed to be interested in this bill will be Member for Embakasi West, Honorable Mark Mwenje.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. From the outset, let me congratulate the Honorable Kimilu for bringing this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, the issue of social workers, especially in developed countries, they have a very well-established system. If you look, whether it is in Europe, whether you look at countries such as the UK, Germany, if you go to the US, social workers are the backbone of especially the vulnerable in those societies. Here in Kenya, Honorable Speaker, I want to acknowledge that the only place you find social workers are in hospitals. We have them in Mama Lucy Hospital, we have them in Kenyatta Hospital, we have them in KU referral, and when they come in is usually at the point of people have a hospital bill, they are trying to pay that bill, they can't raise those funds, and these matters are referred to these social workers. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a framework of how they can assist these vulnerable communities. In fact, without these social workers in some of these hospitals, you can have bodies, especially for those who are deceased, lying there for months. In fact, in the private hospitals here in Nairobi, without these social workers, because they don't have this system of social workers, we have hospitals that hold on to bodies for 6 months. I have a case in my constituency. I don't want to mention the hospital here, but we've been unable, there's a bill of 500,000. This family is living in a room where they pay 2,500 per month, and you expect them to raise this money? It's not going to happen. So this is such an important bill because it will spread now not just to the hospitals, the hospital bills where they've been working so far, but to be able, even the issue of social protection. We have the Inua Jamii, these cash transfers. It should be social workers going around establishing these vulnerable members of our community, ensuring they get this support. When it comes to issues of bursaries, you know, when we do bursaries, we allow everyone to apply for bursaries. But we all know there are people who deserve perhaps a bigger share of what we give as bursaries. Here in Nairobi, we're only able to give 5,000, maybe 10,000 to orphans. But we know there are people who need a bit more. These social workers will be the ones who will help us. And more importantly, they'll be able to upgrade the CHPs who have been doing such a commendable job. But we need these CHPs to now become trained social workers who are able to work within our communities. This is, it's time we push out, even as much as the NGOs do a lot of work. But the government must now come in and take this space. We allow this space to be taken over by various NGOs who've been doing a commendable job, but unfortunately, they will never be able to do what the government is elected or is supposed to do for the vulnerable communities. So I believe this is such a timely bill that has been brought forward. I believe there are a few amendments, which I hope the Kimilu will allow us to help strengthen this bill as we activate it, because I believe this will be a game changer for the vulnerable members of our community. With that, I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. As had been guided earlier, we had said that if you intend to speak on this, you'll use the intervention button. So I have seen some more who have walked in. Honorable Makali Mulu.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity. At the same time, take this opportunity to thank Honorable Kimilu for this important bill, the bill on social workers. Honorable Speaker, during our time in the university, we used to do sociology as a subject, and then there are people doing social work, which means you get more specialized on issues to do with social matters. So this is a group of people who have been trained for many years, over many years in the universities. And the proposal by Honorable Kimilu is to have a regulatory framework for them so that you can have the whole discipline of social work being regulated. So the reason why I appreciate him is because over the years, we have never heard this kind of bill coming to this house or been passed by the House. Honorable Speaker, this House, we have many acts of parliament which regulate different disciplines. We have laws for the lawyers, we have some for the doctors, and when it comes to the medical field, we have actually very many because we have some for nurses. I remember the other day we passed some even for the community health workers. So, Honorable Speaker, this is a step towards the right direction. And why this bill becomes very important is because now we'll be able to know who is a qualified social worker in this country. And social workers do play a very key role in this country in matters relating to our people. For example, Honorable Speaker, you now know very well that with the SHA and the SHIP, there has been this controversial kind of issue dealing with assessment, where people are going to their mobile phones, and once you fill your details, it tells you how much you should be able to pay. Some are complaining that they are being given very high figures, others are getting very low figures. And what has been happening is that there's been an attempt by many people to see how they can manipulate the system to get the low amounts. But naturally, Honorable Speaker, this should be the work of a social worker, somebody who can go down there and then assess based on the characteristics of a household and determine where that household also should be. At the same time, following up on what Honorable Mwenja said, we are using social workers in hospitals to determine the capacity of families to pay. And I can for sure say, Honorable Speaker, many times when my people end up in Kenyatta, we've seen these social workers becoming handy, that they are able to talk to the families, and based on that, they will recommend a waiver of the bills. And this has been of much assistance to the families. So, Honorable Speaker, I think really this bill becomes very important. The only caution I want to do, and this is now the new way of doing it, in the earlier days, some of these associations have been drawing money from the consolidated fund, where they have been funded. I think now the way forward is, since it's a membership kind of club, we'll be requesting Honorable Camille to make sure that they will not be expected to draw any money from the exchequer, but through their own contributions, they can sustain whatever association they will be forming. But all said and done, Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill, and we must thank Honorable Camille for coming up with this initiative. And I look forward to where it can be fast-tracked so that we get this becoming an act of parliament. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Central Imenti, Honorable Kirima. Honorable Rahim, break the Kamukunji.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, Madam Speaker, I support the bill on the Institute of Social Work Professionals Bill. It's one of 2023, of which I see that the sponsor of the bill, my colleague, Honorable Camille, has done a good thing. Because, Madam Speaker, if I go through the bill as I have seen it, other than the lack of description of who is a social worker, how other things look okay, because it enriches our system of the law to cater for the social work through the Institute of Social Work, whereby if we have an Institute of Social Workers, they are going to be professionally trained. At the moment they get that professional and then get the certificate of which they can practice what they have been trained, they can even earn some remuneration out of the work they are going to be doing. Social workers, Honorable Speaker, are people who really do work in a form of a voluntary form of system, even though they are engaged by the government to do the same. They work at very hard conditions, because if in some circumstances, let's say a court of law aside a social worker to go to a place to assess the person who has been charged and is waiting to be adjudged by the court, the social worker is going to go in some places which are very remote, unfavorable places of working conditions, and at the end of the day, the social worker sometimes is exposed, even security-wise. It's a risky situation, for if one is sent maybe by an institution like a court to go and assess a person who has been committing some crime, and these crimes sometimes are violent crimes, and this social work has not been provided with people who are armed to protect the social worker, the court can, this parliament can imagine the kind of a risk which the social worker is undergoing through, so that at least he can meet the obligations of the institution which is sending him. So, Madam Speaker, we have different types of social workers, because like the ones who at this material time and are engaged by the county and the national government to go around our homes assessing those people who have minor illnesses, those who are carrying out assessment, or those who are carrying out to establish those with diabetes, blood pressure, and so on. They are doing it as social workers. Now, for people who are social workers, it's a broad spectrum of workers. Even the people whom we call area managers or sub-areas, they are doing social work. They are social workers. They are social workers because nobody is paying them. They are doing it for the social society, just for purposes of the society. So the description here of why I am saying that we need to describe who is a social worker is so that we can be able to encompass, to include all those who are doing social work for free. For now, nobody is paying them, but they are doing it for social services to the society. And as for that, I support this bill, Madam Speaker, and I say echo to the mob of the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Member for Narok North, Honorable Pareyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this bill. And before I go on, I would like to congratulate Joshua Mill for bringing this bill. This is a very important bill because it talks of the people who are at the grassroots level, who are with the people.
For the record, it's Joshua Kimilu, not Mwilu.
Kimwilu.
Kimilu.
Thank you. And I'm happy to see this bill because I work with the communities at the grassroots level. And once we have promoted these social workers, these are the people who are going to be advisors to our people. And our people will have people to run to. Because there are communities that are still practicing female genital mutilation. There are communities that are still forcing their daughters to be married. And sometimes these people have nobody to run to. So these should be professionals, well-trained people who can guide and advise and who can also counsel these people when they have problems. So for that reason, I support the bill and feel that the welfare of these people should be looked into so that they can also have their salaries, they can also be recognized amongst the community because they will be working with our communities. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you. Member for Kasipul, Honorable Bara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But first, I think, I don't know what we are going to do to make the name of my constituency
Kabondo Kasipul
stick in the minds of, it is actually Kabondo Kasipul.
Yes.
Kasipul is a different constituency. Thank you very much. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to also talk on this bill. On onset, let me also congratulate our colleague, Honorable Kimilu, for coming up with the bill. Madam Chair, we all know the kind of work that the social worker does in a community. The challenges that face the people in the community, the first person, the contact person is the social worker. Madam Speaker, I want to say at this point that the impact of these people within the community cannot be understated. Therefore, Honorable Kimilu, I think this was a good idea that should have been there like yesterday. What you're proposing here of establishing a regulatory framework for social work professionals is welcome. Madam Speaker, the key issues that he has picked are very, very important. Formalizing the work of the professionals or coming up with a structured way in which they can be managed is something that should have been done, and I'm happy that he has come up with it. One, on the highlights that I want to pick up is the establishment of the Institute of Social Work Profession. Who are they? What are their qualifications? If you want to recruit or employ somebody, what do you need to look at? At what level are they supposed to enter? So this is what is taken care of in the establishment of the Institute of Social Work Profession. Second one is the registration and licensing of social worker. It is critical that they are licensed so that we know who they are and whatever area that they are in, be it medical, be it agriculture, be it whatever it is, that we are able to trace them through the registration. And only certified. Of course, we also know that there are many quacks around. So only the certified social workers are allowed to practice. This aims to ensure that only qualified individuals provide social work services, thereby improving the quality of social welfare support to our people. The third one, the most interesting thing here, is on the Code of Ethics and Disciplinary Measures. The bill outlines the Code of Ethics to social work professionals with a clear guideline.
Madam Speaker, I have also seen that they have taken care of the professional development and training standards. So this bill mandate continues professional development for social workers. The same way in which the lawyers have their continuing development studies, also lawyers, accountants, and all these people, because learning is a continuous process. And therefore, people will be expected to continuing improving and adapting new ways of doing things, and this is what this professional development and training standards is going to do. The other one is the profession of social work, research, and advocacy. Madam Speaker, the Institute will be responsible for promoting research and advocacy in social work. This is very, very important, focusing on evidence-based practices and policies that address the social issues that affect our people. By supporting research and advocacy, the bill aims to strengthen the role of social work in national development and social policy formulation. Madam Speaker, as I have said earlier, that the work of the social worker has not been properly respected within our communities. Establishment of standards for social work education. The bill sets to set minimum standards for educational institutions offering social work programs to ensure consistent, high-quality training across the field. These standards are intended to create a uniform foundation of knowledge and skills for the social work graduates entering the profession. Therefore, Madam Speaker, once again, I support and I thank the honorable member for coming up with a bill, and I request that it be considered for adoption finally, so that it is an act in place. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Member for Igembe Central, Honorable Carrido.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to address on this very important bill, the Act of Parliament providing for the establishment of the Institute of Social Work and Social Work Professional Board. Madam Speaker, may I also congratulate the member who introduced this bill. It's very important. Madam Speaker, social workers play a very crucial and important role in the society, especially in enlightening the communities, assisting the vulnerables, and being an integral part of the society. Madam Speaker, it's very important that we have a board that is regulating this institution, which is very crucial. We need, the mover of the bill, as indicated, we need to regulate it to have people who know what they are doing and who are professional in that field. For example, we have the social workers who move around our villages, testing on our status, health status. Those who check on our pressure, the sugar levels, and other ailments. It's good that we have people who are tested and proven so that they can give the correct information to the ministry and the government on the status of the society in health matters. Madam Speaker, we have some social workers who play a very crucial role even in our hospitals. We have social workers who identify. There are some vulnerable families who lose even their loved ones. They are detained in mortuaries, and those social workers go extra mile to establish the financial capacity of the bereaved so that they can be assistant in matters to waive their bills. So these people are very important, and it's good that they get regulated. We have a board that is establishing them and running them so that we have services, the right services given to the right people. Madam Speaker, I support.
Very well. Ruko, member for Mbeere North.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I first want to congratulate the member for coming up with this very important bill. As you look into this bill, Madam Speaker, you realize it is aimed at stimulating the social work sector, which is a key sector and which will enhance, especially the young people, the youth, into entering into the profession. just like other professions, like lawyers, institutes or bankers, they all have bodies which regulate them, which help the growth of the sector, and this bill will aim or will help in streamlining the social work sector. Madam Speaker, also the bill is very important in ensuring that promote professional development and growth of the members who would have to maintain the quality and the quality of professional standards and practice in this sector. Madam Speaker, it's also important to note that it will create policies, the bill will help in creating policies which will advance the development, and in that case will help in scrutinizing the government policies so that they can support the social workers. Madam Speaker, you realize we have witnessed in this country unrest in our institution, in secondary schools, universities, and other institutions. Once this bill comes to law, we'll see professionals who can help in this sector as far as ensuring there are minimal unrest within our institutions, especially the education system or the education sector, so that everything can run in a well-guided manner. Therefore, this bill is key in unifying the social worker professionals, strengthening the social work practice, and promoting the development of social work standard, as well as advocating for the social policies that will advance the social justice and, of course, human rights. With these remarks, Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Very well. Member for North Imenti, Honorable Dawood.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the outset, I want to support Honorable Joshua Kimilu on this bill, the Social Work Professionals Bill. Madam Speaker, I've looked at the bill, and it's a good bill, the creating of an institute. I have an issue with the examination which Honorable Member has proposed in this bill. Madam Speaker, we know that a lot of social workers are there, may not have the qualifications, or they may have been doing it over time. And we need now to think about acquired expertise, like what we are saying. Many people may not have gone through college or university, but they have got the experience of the job they are doing. So, Madam Speaker, I would want to put it to the Honorable Member to think forward so that people who are professionals in their own right without any qualification to be given prior knowledge certificates so that they can be registered in this professionals bill. Madam Speaker, it says that to be a member of this body, they should have good conduct. That is good. Definitely, you have to be of good conduct to be doing social work. Madam Speaker, he has even said to pay the prescribed fees. Madam Speaker, that leaves a big leeway on what the prescribed fees would be. I would have wished if he would have said a certain amount, which will not be out of what somebody can afford, because you can make it, a fee would be so high that somebody will not be able to pay and then not be registered. Madam Speaker, it says, even goes on to say in C, that has successfully undergone a prescribed certificate, diploma, degree, or research course of instruction and has passed the appropriate exam. So that is where I would want him to change. Madam Speaker, social work professionals are very important in that they keep the cohesiveness of this country. They work where nobody else wants to work, and mostly they are unpaid. So I would wish that we would be able to put a figure to what if you are employed or if you are doing social work, how much would you be expecting at the end of the month or at the end of the day to be getting out of it besides the gratification that you get for doing good job? So, Madam Speaker, I think if the honorable member could probably think about the education aspect and the prescribed fees together with the remuneration, it would be very good. And I think if at the next stage, I will be suggesting amendments to this bill. Hopefully, I agree. It is a very good bill, Mheshimiwa, and our people, the social professionals, this institute will do well. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and best of luck to the member.
Honorable members, there being no more interest on this bill, I will therefore call Honorable Joshua Kimilu to reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. And before I reply, I want to congratulate all the members who supported the bill. And I want to thank them because it has a lot of interest and they give good suggestions and for the amendments, because it's very important for us to make sure the bill, as it becomes to law, it's well polished, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, of the concern of the Honorable Dahoud about the examinations, Madam Speaker, in the bill we have taken care of that, and I'll talk to him after this and make sure that he understands everything on the examination issue. Madam Speaker, I also want to say that as most of the members have contributed, it is true, Madam Speaker, the social workers are all over in this country, especially when you go to the hospitals, as some members are saying that they do a lot of work and contribute to the society through, some of them are just volunteered, and Madam Speaker, the time has come for us to put all this in order so that they can benefit, and also we can make sure that we regulate, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this bill of social work profession, Madam Speaker, is an umbrella because it covers all the sectors of social workers, Madam Speaker. And it will be a very important bill because we won't come up with so many bills of every kind, like social workers in the hospital, they come with their bill. Those in other sectors like courts, they come with their bill. The bill covers all the social workers as a whole. And Madam Speaker, I think this bill becoming a law, it will save a lot to this country, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I want also to thank Kenyans for their support they gave during making of this bill. I want also to thank some of the lecturers who have been working through with me on making of this bill, Madam Speaker, coming up with the bill. And they give a very good suggestion and contribution. Also, I can't fail to thank one of the lecturers who is in the gallery, Madam Phyllis, for following the proceeding of the House, Madam Speaker. And she also supported this bill when we were trying to come up with the bill. Madam Speaker, much has said, Madam Speaker, and I want to also thank my constituents, Kait constituency. Madam Speaker, I got so many calls. People are calling from my constituency, congratulating me, and I want to thank them for the support they are giving me. And I want to tell them I'm ready to work for them, and also I'm here to make sure that all their interests are well covered, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I want to reply, and Madam Speaker, before I reply, Madam Speaker, pass one to standing order number 53. I request that putting of the question to be deferred, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I reply.
Thank you very much. We will put the question in the next appointed time. Honorable members, we'll therefore go to the next order. Move to the next order.
Order number 9, the Gold Processing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2023, second reading.
Honorable Bernard Shinali.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Gold Processing Bill, Bill National Assembly number 46 of 2023, be read a second time. Honorable Speaker, when I introduced this bill, this Gold Processing Bill, I did with the main purpose of being to create a legal and institutional framework for gold processing in Kenya. The import of this bill is to revise scope and application of Mining Act number 12 of 2026 so as to exclude the exploration and exploitation of gold from the ambit of the Mining Act. The objectives of the bill, Honorable Speaker, the Gold Processing Bill seeks to create a legal framework for collecting, purifying, smelting, fabricating, homogenizing, sampling, registering, monitoring, and transporting of gold or gold products. Additionally, the bill will establish an institutional framework for collecting, purifying, smelting, fabricating, homogenizing, sampling, registering, monitoring, and transportation of gold or gold products. Specifically, the bill sets out 3 things. The first one, establish regulatory mechanism of gold processing activity. The second one is to create the Gold Processing Corporation. And lastly, align Kenya's gold processing with the international standards. Honorable Speaker, Part 2 of the bill seeks to establish the Gold Processing Corporation to oversee gold processing that entails collecting, purifying, smelting, fabricating, homogenizing, sampling, registering, monitoring, and transporting of gold or gold process or gold products. The corporation will also establish, regulate Kenya's national gold standards and facilitate international accreditation of gold refineries while producing research for the development of gold mining value chain in Kenya. With the current processing results showing presence of huge deposits of gold in Kenya, we are going to see investment of large-scale miners. However, miners in Kenya largely operate without environmental and mining permits as a result of unrealistic and proper policies and regulations, as well as lack systems to enforce the current laws on this sector, coupled with lack of incentives to miners to comply with the legal requirements. The bill seeks to provide for proper infrastructure for enforcement and incentives for artisanal, small-scale miners and large-scale miners, addressing the gap between policy and reality in the sector. Honorable Speaker, establishment of an institutional framework ensures oversight, better resource management, and policy implementation while fostering collaboration across counties and national government to work together on gold processing and resource policies. Formalization speaks not only to presence of legislation, but the activation and enforcement of it by authorities and the extent of their success. Honorable Speaker, activation of such a policy depends to large extent on complex institutional administrational structures at national and local levels, which this bill provides. The bill establishes a gold processing corporation for persons and companies licensed to operate gold processing plants in various parts of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this kind of legislation framework, Kenya will operationalize its first international accredited gold refinery.